Hi everyone, welcome to Rodham International School, Class 8, Subject Social Studies, History Lesson 1, Topic The Modern Period. Children, read along with me. The only thing that is constant in this world is change. It is the eternal law of nature. Nothing is static in this world where everything, including humans, is undergoing constant change. There have been revolutionary changes in human life, particularly during the last 300 years. These changes are reflected in our everyday life, including our food, clothing, housing, and transport. History is the study of these changes in society. No two periods are alike in history. It is the study of change. The changes that occur over time constitute the essence of history. Let me explain you children. The eternal law of nature is change. The constant in this world is change, which means the only thing that is remaining is nothing remains. Everything is under the changes. Even example, human being from childhood to now, each and every single day we have the changes in our body, in our thinking, in every way. So, the eternal law of nature is constant change in everything. Particularly, last 300 years, there is a great changes that comes under the modern period that we are going to learn now. Read along with me the title Periods in History. History is a continuous flow of events that cannot be divided into clear-cut or watertight compartments, but historians have divided it into ancient, medieval and modern periods. However, the duration of these periods is different in different parts of the world. The modern period began in Europe in the 16th century as a result of the Renaissance and Reformation movement in the 15th century. But in India, the modern period began in the 18th century only. Let me explain you. The historians have divided the periods into three ways. What are the three ways? First is ancient history, second medieval history, third modern periods. But you know one thing, the historians cannot divide the periods into clear-cut or watertight compartments, which means they cannot clearly, sharply define that this is what known as the ancient period and this is what from here maybe the 8th century onwards only called as medieval period. Later sharply from this date onwards they cannot explain. But they can tell from here to here approximately they can talk about the periods as three way ancient, medieval and modern. And that too this is difference from country to country or the continent to continent. For example, in the Europe continent the modern period began in the 16th century due to the Renaissance and the Reformation. What is Renaissance? In the 14th to 17th century, there was a new awakening, a movement in the 15th century in Europe that led to renewed activity in various fields of national life. That is in intellectual way, social way, political way, art way, all the way they have got a new awakening. And also Reformation, a movement in Europe to reform the religion, Christianity, that also led them to be a modern period during the time of 16th century. But in India, we are 200 years later, which means from the 18th century onwards, we got the modern period. Read along with me the topic of an overview of the modern period. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire disintegrated into a number of autonomous states, and at the same time, the British were rising to power. In between, the Marathas were trying to emerge as the political heir of the Mughals, but they fell a victim to their ambitions and were subdued by the British. The 18th century was a period of great political turmoil and economic stagnations in the country. The English and the French were arch rivals in trade as well as in politics. The three Carnatic wars proved decisive in favor of the English, who completely revolted the French. Between 1757 and 1857, the English stamped their authority over Bengal and Awadh, subjugated the Marathas and the Sikhs, and conquered Burma and Sindh. The British rule in India had great social, economic, and cultural impacts. It led to various social, religious reforms and cultural regeneration. The spread of English education introduced the Indians to Western science, philosophy, literature, and thought, and gave rise to the high ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity in them. The spirit of nationalism pervading the entire world aroused the Indians also. At the same time, exploitation and discrimination created utmost dissatisfactions among all the sections of society. The revolt of 1857 almost shook the foundations of the British Empire in India. The company's rule came to an end and the political power was transferred to the crown in 1858. Let us understand this overview of the modern period with just 10 points. First of all, the great Mughal Empire came down by the death of Aurangzeb. When the Mughal Empire is coming down, the British were rising to power. Secondly, the Marathas, who are emerging as a great political heir after the Mughals, they were also subdued by the British. Thirdly, the 18th century was known as the great political turmoil and economic stagnation in the country. So during those time, it was a great political turmoil between one empire to another empire. Fourthly, the three Carnatic wars, especially between the English and the French people during the time of 1746 to 1763, proved that English people were the dominant one. Fifthly, the English stamped their authority over the Bengal, Awadh, and also subjugated the Marathas and Sikhs and conquered Burma and Sindh area. So English were conquering most of the areas during the time of 1757 to 1857, almost 100 years. Then lately, the sixth point is the British rule in India had seen a great socio-religious reforms and cultural regeneration in India. Seventhly, the spread of English education introduced the Indians to Western science, philosophy, literature, and also it gives good ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity. Eighthly, as the Indians learned all these ideas of Western education, they also come to know about the other world nationalism, and it aroused the Indians also. Ninthly, the Indians understood about the British exploitation and discrimination, and it created a utmost dissatisfaction about the British. Finally, there was a revolt in 1857 took place which shook the foundation of the British Empire in India. And what happened? The British company have to give all the power, and all the political power was transferred to the crown, British crown, in 1858. Let's continue to read the page number 6. The struggle for national independence began in 1905. The period between 1919 and 1934 is known as the Gandhian era of mass movement. Gandhiji led the non-violent national movement against the British rule. Some revolutionaries also made significant contribution to the freedom struggle. After independence 1947, India began the task of national reconstruction and rebuilding of the national economy. India became a sovereign democratic republic on 26 January 1950. Integration of states into the Indian Union was ensured by Sardar Patel. Reorganization of states was done in various phases to fulfill regional aspirations. Since independence, India has treaded on the path of peace and progress. Today, India is a fast developing country with a sound economy. Let's continue to understand the overview of the modern period. The period between 1919 and 1934 is being known as the Gandhian era of mass movement. Not only Gandhiji, along with him, many more revolutionaries also made significant contribution to the freedom of India. After which India got independence on 15th August 1947. From then 26 January 1950, India became a sovereign democratic republic. So as we got the independence and we became a republic, and India is being developed on the path of peace and progress. Today, India is a fast developing country with a sound economy. Read along with me the title, The Changing Nomenclature of the Subcontinent and its Regions. The Indian subcontinent, comprising the modern countries of India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, formed the British Indian Empire until partition in 1947. Myanmar, then known as Burma, and Sri Lanka, then known as Ceylon, were a part of the British Empire in Asia until 1937. The India Independence Act 1947 partitioned India into two parts. The provinces of Baluchistan, Sindh and NW frontier provinces or else northwest frontier provinces went to Pakistan, while Punjab and Bengal were divided between the two dominions of India and Pakistan. The Muslim majority areas of these provinces were given to Pakistan. Sir Cyril Radcliffe drew the boundary lines. The two parts of Pakistan, that is West Pakistan and East Pakistan, lay on two sides of India. Later, in 1971, East Pakistan separated and emerged as an independent nation of Bangladesh. Let me explain you. The Indian subcontinent until 1937, imagine our India with all this area. The total India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar, even Afghanistan, all were together known as India. Then the India Independence Act 1947 partitioned India into two parts, as we know that India and Pakistan. As I explained you, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and even the Afghanistan, all were known as India. Now they are divided into two ways. So how it is divided? The province of Baluchistan, Sindh, northwest frontier were given to Pakistan, and Punjab and Bengal was divided between India as well as Pakistan. And who did the boundary lines? It is Sir Cyril Radcliffe. He is the one who drew the boundary lines. Later on, the Bangladesh, which was known as the East Pakistan, they separated themselves and they emerged as the independent nation in 1971. Read along with me the topic of major developments during the 18th century. The 18th century is regarded as the darkest period in Indian history. Aurangzeb's demise in 1707 marked the end of the reign of the great Mughals. There were severe and spontaneous revolts of the Rajputs, Jats, Bandelas, Satnamis and the Sikhs. The rise of the Marathas in the Deccan shook the foundations of the Mughal Empire during the reign of Aurangzeb himself. The invasion of Nadir Shah 1739 disintegrated the Mughal power. Ahmad Shah Abdali's invasion 1748 to 1757 and the Third Battle of Panipat 1761 proved disastrous for the Marathas and weakened the Mughals further. It gave a chance to the English East India Company to tighten its hold on Bengal and pave the way for establishing the British power in India. Taking advantage of the weakness of the Mughal Empire, Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Rohilkhand, Mysore, Rajputana, etc. became autonomous. The three Carnatic Wars 1744 to 1763 proved decisive for the English. The political instability in India gave rise to rivalries among European trading powers attempting to gain hold over the country. It adversely affected Indian agriculture, handicrafts, and trade. Forms of art also suffered a lot. The English took the Indian trade into their hands. They ruthlessly exploited the Indians and utterly ruined the artisans and craftsmen. Let me explain you children about the major developments during the time of 18th century. First of all, in 1707, Aurangzeb died, and so the great Mughal empires are coming down. Secondly, there were so many revolts against the Mughal empire like Rajput, Jat, Bandelas, Satnamis and the Sikhs. They were revolting against them. Thirdly, the Marathas, they have risen in so high so that the Mughal empire foundation shook almost. Fourthly, there was an invasion of Nadir Shah, an invasion of Ahmad Shah, and also the Panipat war. All these three things made even the Maratha people weaken as well as the Mughal people much weakened. And so, the English East India Company, they were very cunningly, they established their power in India, in Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Rohilkhand, Mysore, Rajputana. These all the area they have established their own power. And also the three Carnatic wars between the French and the East India Company made the English East India Company as a more powerful than anybody. Then finally, what happened to India is that the rivalry wars between the European trading powers adversely affected the Indian agriculture, handicrafts, trade, and the East India Company ruthlessly exploited the Indians, and we are almost ruined in all the areas in the time of 18th century. Let's read sources of history. The source materials for the study of the modern period are categorized as primary and secondary. Primary sources. The primary sources comprise original documents and literary evidences, archaeological remains, audio cassettes, films, videotapes of incidents and interviews of important personalities, etc. are also the primary sources of modern history. State and national archives preserve these sources. Secondary sources. The secondary sources comprise of the works of great historians and scholars, articles, reviews, books and newspapers. Such books and written records are available in various libraries. Let's also read the interesting facts. The Bengal Gazette, published in 1780, was the first newspaper in India. The Times of India, the Pioneer, Madras Mail in English, Tilak's Kesari in Marathi, etc. were the other popular newspapers. Let me explain you how we know about all this modern period or the medieval period. What is the sources of this history? The sources of history is divided into two ways, that primary sources and secondary sources. What is known as primary sources? The original documents and literary evidences are known as primary sources. What is secondary sources? The reviews and the historians who would write about the original sources, that is known as the secondary sources. Okay, primary sources example are the archaeological remains, audio cassettes, films, videotapes, and all these things are the primary sources. Secondary source examples, the reviews, articles, books, newspaper. This is the example of secondary sources. Okay children, we have learned today the lesson of the modern period. Go through it, read along with me and understand the lesson well. I would be sending you the homework by the WhatsApp group. God bless you.